This is question number 1. Discuss how Renaissance ideas are expressed in the Italian art of the period, referring to specific works and artists. Here's the outline of our lecture. We want to talk about the thesis, David, these 3 facts about David, the School of Athens, these 3 facts about the School of Athens, the Mona Lisa, and these 3 facts about the Mona Lisa. First is the David. The David was sculpted by Michelangelo. This will also appear on another question in the future later this week. It's a very famous statue. It's quite large, and the most famous thing, well, one of the most important things we talk about is contrapposto. Contrapposto is the concept that all of his weight is leaning on one leg. And if you look right here, he was sculpted so all of his weight is on his right leg. Now, how did he get that effect? That is an example of a very famous classical technique from the Romans, where you have the statue leaning on one side. Now, what that is an example of humanism. And humanism is a revival of antiquity with a focus on the Latin classics. This is a Latin classic, a very Romanesque sculpture with all the weight on one side. And you have David as well as another example of humanism, because he is a biblical figure. So you have a biblical figure sculpted with a classical style. He also has the laurel wreath in his hair, which is kind of hard to see in this photo, but that is an example of an Olympic hero from the Greeks. So this revived that classical figure. So there are 3 facts you should know about David, specifically how he's humanistic. The next item that we're going to study is this painting called the School of Athens. And this painting is used to represent knowledge. You see in here you have Aristotle and Plato, and you have various philosophers as well. Here's Michelangelo, actually, because Raphael and Michelangelo were rivals, and Raphael has painted Michelangelo writing a letter. Michelangelo is notorious for writing letters of complaint, so that's a jab at his nemesis right there. But this is an example of secularism, and secularism is a Renaissance concept where you're concerned with the material world instead of the spirit. You're no longer just sculpting or painting things that can be put in a church, but you can put them in somebody's house, and art is for enjoyment, or art is an expression of your power. And another interesting thing about this is this painting has perspective. You can see there's a vanishing point. It looks 3-dimensional. That is a very, very important Renaissance technique. You can always differentiate a Renaissance painting because it has 3 dimensions, while medieval painting only had 2 dimensions. So secularism, they're concerned with the material world. Finally, one of the most famous paintings of all time, the Mona Lisa, sculpted by Leonardo da Vinci. And this is a portrait. This was a unique element to the Renaissance where you have people sculpting, or not sculpting, or painting for an individual person. And it stressed the personality and the genius and a quest for glory. And this concept where you're trying to be the best you can be. And this is an amazing painting because of the very, very important technique. If you look at the Mona Lisa, you can't tell whether she's smiling or not. And that's intentional. How did he create that effect? Well, Leonardo da Vinci used a technique called sfumato, where he painted translucent layers of color, and he created mystery whether or not she's smiling. Because he would paint one layer of translucent paint where she is smiling, and one layer where she's not smiling. And he'd paint them one over the other. So now you can't really tell. So what I'd like you to be able to do tonight for homework is write 1 paragraph. And your 1 paragraph should be a thesis statement. And then you want to also kind of give the reader a preview of the David, of the School of Athens, and the Mona Lisa. And we'll talk more about this tomorrow. Remember, you only have 15 minutes of homework, and you should only write, or 15 minutes of writing tonight. You should only write for 15 minutes, creating 1 thesis paragraph. Good luck.